Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, Ko-Fi and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Amish Earther, Naughty Thumbnails, Mitch Kennedy, Original D-Rose, Rod, The Name's Burley, Twad Wazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, Flat Earth Travolta, JMelts24, Unimento, M Iron 26, Endless, Flat Earth Sage, Golden McKinnon, Retro Bill, More Books, Canna Bear, Fiber Oats, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Mel B Styles, Hairy Blade, Mobile Mac 777, Rob W, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Nealands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, Tina Baker, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. And as I say, links to Patreon are in the info box below this video. Keeps the lights on at Flat Earth Debate. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
Jesse, how can you depict all of these all of these horizontal planes? You just told me spheres that don't have horizontal planes, so we agree that spheres that don't have horizontal planes, yeah. And you're showing us all of these pictures with horizontal planes and elevations from the horizontal planes and from level, yeah. And so we are definitely not talking about spheres then. Oh, but there is a what? Yeah, you've answered correctly my first question. How many horizontal planes are there on the sphere? None. Okay, we agree. So now you're showing me horizontal planes with mountains and this and that, yeah, and telling me about the sphere. Are you out of your mind? I ask. He must be.
I want to ask that question yesterday.
His words.
Sorry,
but his words don't. His words don't reveal on these drawings, on these schematics. It cannot be a baller.
That's why I don't understand any evidence of Earth curve. It's like, how's it possible to have a horizontal on a sphere? So,
yeah.
I don't know what they're looking for.
You know what his point of contingency is? Yeah, he's on the top of a mountain, observing another mountain on the distance that is 5,000 feet higher than the mountain that he's standing. Now, his elevation angle to it, he says that it shouldn't be at the elevation that it is. I mean, it's ludicrous. He's just accounting for the height and not the run. So a person taller than me, side by side, is taller than me, obviously. But as it moves away from me, it looks smaller and smaller and smaller than me. The angle to
Come
it
on, they're still fighting
diminish.
about that
Doesn't
stuff.
mean that he's walking over a curvature, but it doesn't mean the person is walking over a curvature, does it? That's what it's trying to imply.
Hashtag shit shrinks.
Meanwhile, to achieve these things, to do this mathematics, yeah, and check the angular size of the mountain or the person moving away from you, you don't need a flat plane for that, because you're talking about, again, angular size, angles. Hello.
Yeah, when they get to that, George, that's what I don't understand, why they're not getting it. Once you get to the point where you're starting to make measurements and you're talking about angles, hello?
No. Au contraire, they do get it, because they are depicting themselves. They are drawing these in pieces of paper, yeah. And that geometry to be drawn out, you need to use a ruler, a protractor, straight lines. That's the right geometry. They are depicting it right there. It's just it's not compatible with the words that they are using to describe that geometry. It's the double speak. You know, a horizontal line, it remains horizontal line. It's a true statement. It doesn't deviate from straight. These guys are trying to debunk,
Georgie, who
geometry.
are you talking about? I missed the beginning.
Jesse, my newest flat earther friend, he popped in
Oh, the
again last
one that.
night.
Oh, okay. So he's still a glober then.
Well, he still have, according
he's
to
a
him,
Glober.
unanswered questions. He's still using flat planes and angles above the plane. He still claims the baller, but you know, his drawings, yeah,
Bend your
and
way,
graphics
baller.
that he's shown to us doesn't correspond to his words, because he's showing us flat planes.
See, that's my thing. Once they're aware that they're making taking these measurements and working off a flat plane, and you're still bracing against it, that's where I got no time for you.
He asked me, "Can you address my level line?" I said, "What do you mean address the level line? What's wrong with that? It's running parallel to the
See,
surface.
that's
What's wrong
exactly
with
what
that?"
I'm saying, Georgie. But that's exactly what I'm saying. That's when I say, how about you do it? Leave me alone.
Yeah. Don't tell me. Just draw it out, and you know, because your words, when you say this, I visualize something. But when you draw out the piece of paper, I agree with you.
It's like you're playing with a mouse. I got you. Like a cat slapping around the mouse.
What do you have to say about my level curve? Huh? Huh?
John, I don't get it, man. Even when Anthony was arguing, I don't get it because I listened back and you hear Nathan clearly say the stars when he claims he didn't say anything. He didn't break it down properly. The bottom line is it's still everything is referenced to a flat plane, earth that we stand upon or sail upon. No matter where you are on sea or land, it's freaking flat.
Oh well, I've
Wait.
answered a question posed by
Morning.
Bacon on the chat there, where it gives three elevation angles, and he asks, "Where is the observer?" Question mark. I just replied, on a horizontal plane, obviously.
Uh, Maybe that guy should be answering that question. Does he believe that the observer is inside the sphere Earth, burning in hell?
I don't think you can speak for him by the sounds.
I, I don't understand the complication of this. It's in the definition of elevation angle, and a horizontal plane is required. Now, we all know for a fact that spheres that don't have horizontal planes, so why would we associate a sphere to this geometry anyway?
Because that's what we were told when we were growing up and taught in schools. That's all we're fighting against now, cognitive dissonance. Because we've got the winning arguments, and how Earth is measured is about as conclusive as you can get. So what are we now up against? Well, we're up against general consensus view and cognitive dissonance if they come across our path. That's it. That's all we're left with now. That's what the debate boils down to. I can only answer that question because of a commenter. Someone was like, why don't you rename the debate Earth's measured flat? Because there's no debate anymore. I'm like, yeah, with the exception of the however many billion Western world occupiers who believe that they're on a sphere. So that is really all we're up against now is that. But does everybody know that we've figured it out? No. And up until a few months ago, there's a good chunk of us who only believed Earth was flat. Now that we've finally got our silver bullet and can state it in absolute categoric terms, now what everyone should just accept that the debate is over. No, our debate points have come to a conclusion where we can win because measurements trump all in this regard. What's Earth? Well, it's flat. How do you know? 'Cause that's how I've measured it. Oh. No, it's ball-shaped. Okay, well, how do you measure it ball-shaped? We don't. We measure it flat and then say it's ball-shaped with this extrapolation and curve maths. Okay, but you're measuring it flat. Yeah. Well, it's really big. What are you up against? You're up against cognitive dissonance and nothing else at that point, aren't you?
Yeah, that's correct. Agree entirely. Just pointing out where the cognitive dissonance happens, and yeah, I think we have a very, very good point there.
Speaking of which, me, Adam, and Brian were having a conversation about where our understanding of this is progressing, and there's places of ambiguity that well, ballers don't have it, but other flat earthers are using that as a way to deny how flat it is. And that I think it can be fixed with a few qualifiers before you state which flat plane you're talking about. And then they'll have no place to go.
It's starting to sound like an exorcism. Matthew Learns the other day, he was not to swing it away from what that was. I guess we could talk about that, John, before I go to something else. What are the qualifiers? What would be a good example of a qualifier, John, or refracted?
He's got his camera on like he's collapsed or something. Have you fallen over, John? You know your camera's on, right?
John fell over?
Qualifiers.
No,
Were you Nathan?
his camera's just
The
pointing at the ceiling. I
horizon-
think he's just put his...
Sorry,
John.
I was changing the diaper, and my little one grabbed the. No, sorry.
I thought a baller came in and whacked you.
Yeah, we'll wait till he's finished.
I was going to say
engaged with a baby
qualifiers.
currently. Oh, just one sec. He's engaged with a baby currently. If you can just hold your thought and ask him his question in like 2 minutes when a little toddler's running around with a new nappy.
Yeah, John, hats off to you. I don't know how you do it, buddy.
Do what?
He holds the baits. You hear kids in the background. He changes them. He's got the patience of a saint.
Fair enough.
I would have tied them up a long time ago in a room somewhere.
Okay, thanks for that, Neil.
I'm just kidding, man.
I was going to say it's a clarifier. Yeah, the horizon is not the geographical position. It's not the place it can go to. It's apparent. Its location, but it is horizontal. Yeah, it's vector, for a lack of a better word. It remains horizontal, regardless of the distance to it. It's not used in that context of distance to the horizon, but used as a horizontal plane of reference, regardless of the distance to it.
Yes.
So, maybe flat earthers will start saying the horizon is really apparent. Now I've pissed everyone off.
But nevertheless, it's visible. Yeah, it's the visible boundary, and it's that boundary. Yeah, and the what's the word I'm looking for?
Semantics, I think, is
It's
the word you're
that
looking for.
boundaries, horizontal position. Yeah, that is being used. The horizontal position of the horizon. In other words, the level. That's what liquid does, isn't it?
Yeah,
Level liquid.
we can break this down in 25 different ways over the course of the next 25 months, I'm sure. However, it doesn't change any of it. This whole internal semantical discussion about what the horizon is, its physicality, tangibility, all of those aspects, they're all internal discussions. Very, very nuanced, hyper-specific, and really, I mean, it gains us a slightly better understanding of what's going on. I won't, deny the credibility of the information that's coming from people like John and Brian, or initially 10th Man. But notice what it's lacking. What is this discussion lacking? Opposition.
Ballers.
Yeah, opposition. It's an internal, nuanced discussion.
Orientation is the word.
I'm just pointing out that there's no opposition to this discussion whatsoever. Now, I appreciate that within the debate there's been people getting quite heated and angry, but those are people on our own side, Anthony Riley being one of them, right? Okay. It's an internal debate where there is no counterpoint about a ball being offered whatsoever. Just thought I'd drop that in there.
Maybe that.
Yeah.
Nathan, let me ask you a question. Hold on. When that whole thing was going on with gravity, with Anthony Riley and was it Arwen? It was heated at times, correct? Because I don't remember back then. I wasn't there.
Yeah, absolutely, it was heated. Yes.
Okay, but there was contention of a ball. This is what I don't understand. There's no contention of a ball here. So why it's getting so heated, I don't understand.
And it doesn't even matter. What I mean is the fact that it's getting heated, unless there's some contentious ball offering on our plate that we've got to gobble down, I don't care. It's just a nuanced discussion that's very interesting. And I even put that on one of the comments when I listened back to the whole discussion, the initial discussion between Brian and Sleeping Warrior, after which Sleeping Warriors cut all contact and got annoyed with us all. Fine, whatever. But my point is that discussion has no opposition. And while it is very interesting, what are we doing? We're refining our blade to the point of sharpness that's beyond comprehension at this point, as far as I'm concerned. Now, that's not to decry, like I say, the validation of the points or the worthiness of the points. They're all excellent, and the discussion's very interesting. But
but I don't like that the horizon is apparent. The horizon is there. It's the apparent position, right? Where the sky meets the sea or ground, but it's there. So how can we say it's apparent?
The more you know about it, the more you realize how it's being utilized as a tool to reference a flat surface. And really all that's mattered. That's all that's mattered since the start. But understanding why it represents a horizontal plane of reference, how it's used to establish a horizontal plane of reference, what it physically is and is not, is all very interesting. But again, without opposition, we're just going over the finer details of how flat Earth is. Really, aren't we?
And that's
You can also find your latitude using the horizon and Polaris.
Yeah. Go on, John.
I was going to say the internal debate is because there is an ambiguity, and the only way that you can fix that is being more concise. And the ambiguity comes with the apparent position. So because you can create an optical plane, right? And an optical plane has no relation to the surface. It has a relation to the eye, right? And then
Well, not exactly,
you
but
can,
but for the fact that all. Well, I was just going to disagree with you. You said it has no relation, but for the fact that they're all going to be parallel with the ground. If you create an eye level, you're saying that the eye level itself is purely visual and therefore not the ground, but for the fact that it's parallel with it.
well, that's the next category is a level optical plane. All right. Then you have a distinction between an optical plane and a level optical plane because that's parallel with the prime plane of reference, which would be the ground. The second thing to identify. Ground, either the prime or the original plane of reference. Once that's established, then you can have a source plane of reference, which is your mean sea level. And that is the average of your primes, and it becomes like your source document in the citation. And then you get your reference plane from that.
Yeah, but in the citations where they're describing how you just measure an elevation angle, they simplify it right down to what you're calling the prime reference, the ground. So they just say the horizontal plane that the observer is standing on, which oversimplifies what it is, but it's still accurate. It is what it is. That's what you are ultimately using. That is the ultimate and prime, as you put it, plane of reference. The ground. Or sea, doesn't matter. When people get pedantic about that, it really annoys me. Same with deck. When I say deck, I just mean the surface of Earth. Doesn't matter if it's water or soil. And if it is soil, yeah, you can get topographical differences mapped out with respect to the prime reference plane. But
Which has to be flat and at ground level.
Well, it is the ground. That's the point. It's just never explicitly stated that way. And when it is explicitly stated that way, the only rebuttal we get is, well, it's not the ground. When it's explicitly stated to be the ground, we're oversimplifying it. Because that's the primary reference plane. That's what we're dealing with. That's Earth.
And see, like, then when they want to talk about mean sea level, that's still dealing with Earth. You're just talking about the rise and fall of the waters on Earth.
Yep.
So I like I said, I think there's 3 words that could change the way we talk about this amongst ourselves.
Go on.
I just give them.
What were they? You keep making a popping sound every time you come off mute. Are you using a manual mute button by any chance?
Yes. Let me see if I can fix that. But yeah, the primary reference plane, source reference plane, and optical reference plane.
Said that the other day, Nathan. Ain't you keeping up?
Again, nuance. Yes, we can be more specific in discussion when we know the subtleties of these descriptions better, which none of us do. Well, I say none of us do. John does. I'm sure Brian does.
It sharpens the argument.
Yeah. But I don't... This is going to sound really rude. When I initially said to Brian, I don't see this as necessary, after learning the intricacies of dip correction, I appreciated that there's a horizontal plane of reference that's got to be measured in the first instance, being described by John as the primary plane. That's what Brian's got to reference when he takes his dip correction and measures to the surface, or the water level with respect to the deck of the ship, where you'll be measuring this measurement from, the angle, with the sextant. Well, again, his importance to understand how and why you're correcting makes it explicitly clear that you're doing it because Earth's flat. So I understand why Brian wanted to stress that. But initially I was like, it's not that important, because the overall methodology at every step shows it's flat. So this correction is an earlier step than establishing 3 areas of equal elevation for the sake of argument, therefore higher on the importance list. It's like, no, with a general understanding of the overall process, you can still argue and win, because Earth is in every respect being dealt with flat, when you do the process. So it's not that Brian's wrong, it's just that if it wasn't for the fact that I had people like Brian around me, I couldn't get the overall gist of the argument to win with it. So you've got to have people with an exemplary knowledge or a better knowledge than you around you discussing this stuff to raise your game. Therefore, if everyone was at the same level as me, I'd be at a lower level, if you know what I mean. So, I've got to praise people like Brian for drilling this stuff into me because, it sharpens my overall general understanding of the argument, even though I might not necessarily lead with it, where he sees it as fundamentally the most important part of it because of how the world must be treated and what the world must be for you to be making that correction in the first place. So it's fundamentally proving Earth's flat. He's right. But my apprehension about its complexity, and it still is complicated, let's not make two bones about it, it's complicated, but so is the whole process. So therefore, to get a handle on the whole process in a general way, with good background, nuanced understandings of details like the horizon, dip correction, line of position, whatever, a good understanding in general, I think, will always win a debate in this discussion. Flat Earth versus globe Earth. You're going to win every time if you just understand the process system. Whereas if you just focused on dip and just understood to the nth degree how dip worked, then I don't see that would necessarily win you an argument if someone started asking you about how the sky works or why the stars don't change as you move up in elevation or something that they catch you on the back foot with if you don't know the answer to it. But while you're doing dip, it's like, I don't know. It's good that we focus on it a little bit, but I don't think it's the be all and end all. Neither do I think the tangibility of the horizon for us is necessarily that pertinent to the discussion when its overall functionality, its purpose, its use is to establish flat. And that's basically it.
Agree, indeed. But there's a step even before that we tend to brush it through, which is the grid system. Even before you grab your sextant and try to find your latitude or anything, you're going to refer to a grid system. And how are you going to find your latitude? Well, you're going to need an elevation angle for starters, to Polaris in this case. So even before you grab your sextant, you need to refer to longitude and latitude lines. Grid system.
Maybe. I mean, you're going to have a map and you're going to be plotting your position on that map. But if you're only using 3 navigation stars and the almanac to know where they are over at a given point that you measure them, then you can establish where you are on that grid with only those stars. You don't actually need to start by measuring Polaris to do this process. I don't know if you're appreciative of that.
Exactly. Yeah, I do. Maybe I'm not describing myself properly. What I'm saying is the grid system itself. So you as a navigator traveling from this latitude to that latitude,
I do follow
you
now.
already
I get it.
You are already treating it as being flat.
Yes, I got you. Just to be having the map in the... I'm like, well, you're drawing 3 circles on a map that already must be accepted as a flat Earth before you start functionally using it, because it's got a grid that's measured from a flat Earth. So you've already proven a flat Earth before you draw any circles, before you measure any angles, because you've already got an acceptance of how the world's going to be treated when you move forward to make these measurements. So you're not suggesting that in order to do the 3 lines of position, the 3 circles of equal elevation to find your position, you must also find your latitude. No, you're not suggesting that. You're just saying that as soon as you unroll the map, you're accepting that it's flat because that's how it's going to function when you move forward, right?
That's correct, because your almanac says that the GP of the star, its longitude and latitude corresponded on the map where X marks the spot. You just need to find how far you are from that distance. So you are already treating it to be flat. Longitude and latitude, how is achieved? It requires the baseline to Polaris.
Yep. You've already accepted that there's an established flat Earth system in place for you to move forward.
That's correct, but that will be the distance of a radius value between you and Polaris. That circle of equal altitude is ginormous. You are somewhere on that circle, you just don't know where. but you know your latitude.
Right. So, like I say, we're going to cover Logan Paul and Ruby Rose talking about flat Earth. It's punted as a debate. You can make your own mind about that when we cover it. But we're really sinking down to the sort of dumbed down levels of mediocrity when we come to cover this stuff. But I want to cover it because it basically gives you a general gist of the plebs idea of what flat Earth discussions are actually about. So we'll get an idea of the plebs view.
Well, that's interesting about dumbing it down, because really the sextant is later on, right? That's if you want to increase your understanding. You could prove the Earth is flat with a stick and a shadow, and by the very act of you getting an angle to a celestial object proves the Earth is flat.
Yes and no. You've got to have a
How
certain
no?
amount of.
When you get an angle,
You're right. You're establishing that you're measuring an angle, and you're supposing that the surface is flat to be measuring that angle. I understand what you're saying, but as an overall declaration about the rest of the world based on your angle measurement from that particular location, with your understanding that to be an angle, it's got to have a flat surface along the baseline with a 90 degree to the star if you're measuring its angle. Yeah, that is all flat, but it doesn't make any suggestions about the rest of the world at that point.
So it is not an elevation angle then, because the surface is curving?
No, everything you've done establishes Earth and measures the star with an angle that requires Earth to be flat. But then to move forward with just that and say, well, therefore the rest of the topology and surface and everything else is measured with respect to a flat baseline is a bit of a stretch.
No, but it's just about the Earth, right? Not
That's
the
singular
topology.
measurement.
Why would that be brought up?
Yeah, your single measurement to the star is utilizing a plane. It's measuring Earth as flat. It's using that assumption at that single point for that single measurement.
Which means that all the way to the base, the GP of the sun, is flat.
You're invoking
For that to
GP,
be an
so
angle
straight away
between
you're invoking
the
GP.
surface.
In terms of what is a GP, you're working within a construct, though, aren't you? Then, as soon as you say GP,
No, because Eratosthenes did it. He just had the well with the sun 90 degrees overhead, and I just used the term GP so we could communicate it, but I can go to the well with the sun 90 degrees overhead, which required the Earth to be flat. And then 500 miles away, he took an angle to the sun, which required the Earth to be flat.
Yeah.
So 500 miles of flat.
Yeah, his measurements only can infer that he's measuring Earth as a flat plane. Yes.
But the idea of locally flat, it's an oxymoron kind of to assert that it's still a sphere if you're measuring it locally flat. It's an absurdity.
Sure, but
there is no locally flat on a sphere.
Yeah, but moreover, we can affirm that, which is to say we've done that process all over, and it works all over, and has then been subsequently charted and mapped in that way. So we can extrapolate out with confidence and with demonstration. Obviously, the fact that there's a measurement that proves that it could only be flat in the measurement doesn't alter the fact that they can take that and just say, no. Tangent planes to a sphere. In other words, you can make up any old story, and they do, right? They say that story proves that Earth's being measured spherically. It isn't. It's being measured flat.
Use a tangent plane. Can't use a tangent plane. You can't use a tangent plane. Where's the shadow being cast?
On the ground.
On a tangent plane?
On the ground, on the surface.
Right. Not a tangent plane.
Agreed.
Nathan.
Me? Yo, what?
I just want to make sure I'm not breaking up. Could it be that it's the same thing Like, I understand what Brian's talking about with the dip, because over distances, it proves it can't be a sphere. It's flat. And it's the same thing with flight. There's no drop when you're flying level. But is it because we do have to turn around and say it's impossible on a sphere?
Yeah,
You understand what I'm saying? Like, those two arguments are killers. But we do have to say this can't be done on a sphere,
we don't have
which
to.
is bringing us back to the sphere.
We don't have to mention a sphere at all. I would prefer the phraseology. It can only be done with respect to a flat plane. It can only be done flat. Obviously, that precludes it being done on a hexagon or a sphere or any other three-dimensional shape. Not that hexagon's three-dimensional, but you know what I'm getting at. Whatever three-dimensionality they infer, when the fact is that you have to do this flat, you can state that you have to do this flat. You don't have to go against the grain, is what I'm saying. My general attitude towards taking this forward on the front foot is to never necessarily even invoke a sphere. Obviously, our opponents will do it for us. But typically, the methodology moving forward for a flat earther shouldn't be referencing how the sphere doesn't work. So saying this doesn't work on a sphere is exactly that, Neil. But you can imply that by saying it only works flat.
Got it.
That so-called crow's nest, yeah, that place on the mast in high elevation from the ocean. That reference point, it's the one you're trying to find out, the position, the fix, the zenith. It's simplified by the mast running through all the way down. So when you measure from the water line to the height of the mast, you're using the mast as a zenith line.
As a what line?
Your zenith that you're trying to find, your fix.
Yeah, if the mast is completely perpendicular to the sea, which it never will be, but you know, you're rocking your sextant, you've got to the point on the ocean where you're calm enough to get a measurement and you're up the crow's nest. And what you're suggesting is, in ideal circumstances, your zenith runs through your head down the mast.
Well, you have to rock the sextant for starters, because the boat is rocking. So we want to keep it steady as you rock with it. You want to be, your zenith to be running parallel to the other zeniths that you are observing. You bring in the celestial to the horizontal plane, and on the tangent where these two, the curved line and the horizontal line meet, it's where you mark. But you need to be on that plane of reference by rocking the sextant.
How do we make that into that song? Remember Rockin' the Casbah? Rockin' Sexton.
Yeah, but I'm not. I ain't rocking no sextant out on some ocean lost at sea, trying to figure out where the hell I am. No, I'm not doing that, am I?
Or you can create an artificial horizon, and you don't have to correct for anything.
Yeah, as long as you understand that principle that everything's going to be running parallel to the surface for the GP to work below the line that you've drawn out parallel with your eye or with the level that you've established with a laser or whatever you're using. Molasses. Halving the tool, you can do that on land, right? You can get double the accuracy if you bounce it off some reflection, but you halve the amount of angle that you can measure then. But yeah, there's all sorts of methodologies for establishing level. But once you have, if you're establishing level with something that isn't the horizon, that's it. There's no other step to take. You've established your horizontal plane of reference. Everything that will be along that line will be parallel to whatever is below it. So if you mark out a GP 90 to that laser level that you've established as your horizontal plane, then the GP's directly below that on the ground, extended out to infinity.
Too bad Tent is not here. I know he's got major issues, but man, it would be great if he was here for all of this.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
I am new to the server. I just wanted to say grand rising to everybody. I hope everybody's having an amazing day, night, depending on where you guys are. Much love to everybody.
What's your name?
Thanks, man. Appreciate
Yeah,
that.
appreciate that, man.
I didn't get his name. Did he say his name in the beginning?
And you can call me Pig. I don't easily give out my real name, but you can call me Pig.
Whatever you go by on the internet. I don't want your real name. Doesn't matter to me. It does, but some people just want to use aliases. Me and Nathan, we use our name. But Pig is what I'll call you. What's up, Pig?
Good morning,
Hey,
gentlemen.
good afternoon.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening.
Hello, welcome wherever you are. Good to have you all. Should we do a bit of housekeeping to get us in the mood? Oh, we could just go straight on to the video we were going to cover today.
Please do.
Okie dokie. So we have got a video to cover today, and it's going to be a recent video where somebody who in the past has been to Flattoberfest, which is Logan Paul, and pulled the same stunt that a guy who we recently covered did on the more recent Flattoberfest. So his was a year ago. And this is quite an interesting discussion. I've watched about half of it such far. It's only a 5-minute piece, but it's very telling in terms of the general state of the public opinion or the public view on how this discussion gets discussed, what are the talking points. And I mean, it's regressive in terms of what we cover, but I think it's quite telling to keep us grounded. What is actually going on when you type in flat earth debate? I mean, the chances of me coming up are absolutely zero, but this will come up, right? Because it's got the word debate and earth and flat in it, and it's anti-flat. So therefore, this will come up first. So we're going to cover that today, but I do want to do a bit of housekeeping because I do want to keep our hand in that regard. So we'll cover a couple of housekeeping questions. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
What's
Well, if
that?
you're going to extrapolate any distances, you're going to need a flat plane for that.
Yeah, you will.
But what are you getting a measurement to? A light? We don't even know what it is.
No, but that measurement that we can take to that light is very useful for navigation and is utilised for navigation in the time respect. You can also gather your position data from the sun. Very, very useful.
Yeah, and when you say it's useful for saving lives, people mock that. But they wouldn't be mocking that if they were lost at sea, would they, Nathan?
Right, who mocks the fact that celestial navigation has saved people's lives? And it's based on a flat earth charted world. Who's taking the mickey out of that?
The other day when we were on that server, well, I think it might have been 24/7. But when you said, yeah, it's for save lives, the guy said in the background, saving lives, Nathan, really? Yeah, really.
It's also responsible for the expansion
But
of the known world.
you can have a distance to the sun's geographical position, though.
Yeah, you can have a distance to its GP along the flat ground. Absolutely. Very
Yeah,
useful.
correct.
Like on screen now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll need a flat earth to measure it, though. And it is measured that way. It's used that way.
That's
That's how
correct.
we're mapping the world. Currently mapping the world that way. Flat, that is. That's how it's flown on, built on, navigated, mapped. Earth is flat. The distance to the sun, nobody got any idea? Just its GP.
Well, the school books say 93 million miles away, but we know what that's about.
What's a GP?
Geographical position, ground position.
So in this diagram, the GP of the sun would be here, at its zenith. Zenith being the point directly below it. So if you were standing here, the sun would be at your zenith. If you were lying on your back looking directly up, eyeballs pointing upwards, it would be directly above you. This is your zenith, measuring position. And the principle that's being used to map the terrain and to navigate the terrain is 90 degrees at the zenith of the luminary that you are measuring, in this case, the sun. 90 degrees below its position is a prerequisite flat plane to have that be 90 degrees at the position below the sun in this diagram. This is and must be a flat plane to achieve that. And the world has been mapped that way. Earth is flat. Hey, Eli.
What's up, Eli?
What's up, yo?
Sky.
It's John.
Mm-hmm.
What haven't we had for a while? What question haven't we had for a while? Scientific evidence of gravity, perhaps?
Pressure
You guys
gradients?
like to say specific gravity is validated, but I hate that word.
Just a title. Specific gravity has been arbitrarily ascribed to a description of relative density disequilibrium if you're showing something with a vector, or just relative density. That's what specific gravity is. You don't have to like that. Is your objection because the word gravity is so loaded?
Yes. And it's like we're giving validation to gravity.
No. Specific
May I
gravity.
help you, Neil?
Did you struggle to get past the terrestrial refraction that they threw at us back 5 years ago? Was that a problem? No. What is it? Refraction? No. It's terrestrial refraction at a rate derived from an R value measured off a flat plane. That's what their refraction is. Well, what's refraction? Light deviating from straight when traversing two different mediums, a la Snell's law. That's refraction. That's not terrestrial refraction, though. So how is specific gravity any different or any more of a concern, other than the fact that your average Joe Bloggs Fundy thinks that gravity is, number one, an out of date by 109 years force of mass attracting mass. Your average Joe on the street doesn't even know what gravity is, because it's not that anymore, is it? It's bent fourth dimensional Einsteinian pseudo-Riemannian geometry. That's not a force. But very few people on the street would know that.
But everyone will recognize it as an apparent downward force. So, yeah, you can talk about gravity all you want to, but that will always be in reference to a flat plane because you're saying down.
Yeah, and when you do describe down, if you're trying to invoke that down in that description, that may be well occurring. You might have a description of something with a vector change in the downward orientation that you could ascribe specific gravity to, or even Newtonian gravity to. But when you then take that description, flawed though it may be in the Newtonian sense, and then suggest that conjures a force that for them must hold gas to a ball in a sky vacuum. And gas does not behave that way. It doesn't matter what they say about gravity anymore, Neil, because ultimately, what's the purpose? Is it to hold us to a spinning water ball? Maybe. But what about the gas? The gas behaves how it behaves regardless of whether or not they arbitrarily ascribe a force to downward vectors. Okay, you've ascribed a force to a downward vector. Gas doesn't have that, though, does it? It expands in all directions. So the fact that you've conjured a force out of watching things go down doesn't alter the fact that that doesn't apply to the gas that we are all breathing. It fundamentally defies that notion when you conjure a force out of descriptions of downward biases. Is that the right word? Biases.
Yes, yeah, the downward bias. It would be the plural of bias.
Yeah,
Is
so
that what you're asking?
yeah, in other words, more than one could be described by gravity, could be described by specific gravity, Einsteinian gravity, Newtonian gravity. So long as they're picking something that has a downward bias, i.e., if you're describing downward biases, then you can do so long as you don't conjure a force out of it and then say it's ascribed to everything, because everything's going down. Well, gas does not do that. Gas expands in all directions. Any evidence that you can have gas pressure, that's what we're all breathing, without containment.
Well, the belief
No.
that gas.
Without the container, there could be no pressure. Conspiracy cat.
That's correct.
But the belief that gas is being held down by a force is with respect to a flat plane because you use the word down. There is no down on a sphere.
No, there's in or around. Correct. Neither of which is going to be conducive when the specifics of the description have a downward vector. That is to say, downward in orientation with respect to a horizontal. A plane of reference is utilised to describe the orientation and bias, which doesn't exist, but to describe it when there are examples of things that do go down. They're going to need a flat plane to describe them. Correct, John? This is
Like
going to be
weight.
Yeah, weight.
They've hijacked weight, but weight is not relative to the surface of a sphere.
No, it's respect to a horizontal plane. Talking about a vertical orientation change if you're talking about a downward vector. Or equally, if you're talking about an upward vector, it's still with respect to the horizontal. Can't describe it without flat. So gas pressure without a container? Anybody at all? Sky is not a vacuum then. So outer space is debunked. And everything that has claimed to have come from that area, which is not real, is debunked. That is to say, there is no travel to Mars, travel to Moon, travel to the Sun, travel out to the different parts of the universe. None of it's possible. Furthermore, all the current notions of nonsensical dimensional leaps, dimensional travel, all nonsense also, all come from Einsteinian fourth dimensions. Total nonsense. Every last bit of it's debunked by the sky not being capable of being a vacuum, because gas fills space. And what do you say? The whole area above our head is nothing but space for the gas we're breathing to fill. It would fill it. It's an entropic law of nature. It's described with the second law of thermodynamics. It's what gas does. It's always occurring that way. What's that? No gas go down, go boom, boom because of gravity. No, it doesn't. Space is fake.
Nathan, there's thousands and thousands of people, probably lots of thousands of people that work in places where they make rockets. They work in NASA, they get paid salaries, and you're going to tell me that space is fake? You got some people's, their uncles and their aunts and their grandfathers worked there and made the rockets, especially the one that went to the moon. And you're saying it's fake just because there's gas pressure on Earth and you don't know how it responds in outer space.
No, to beg the question of outer space is to assume that there is a second law of thermodynamics violation taking place above our head. That is simply cannot be the case. It's a violation of natural law. If that was the case, then it wouldn't be a natural law.
Yeah, but the second law of thermodynamics doesn't apply to the globe.
No, it doesn't apply to the globe because gas would be filling space. So therefore, a law of nature, a description of how gas behaves in this instance, always does not apply to the globe Earth model because it cannot apply to the globe Earth model. We don't live on a model. But in that model, gas isn't filling space in line with entropic law. Ergo, the globe model, not that one such beast has ever been presented to us here, violates, in a description of a ball Earth in a vacuum, the second law of thermodynamics. The gas would fill the space. We don't live on a ball. The ideas come from a flat plane measurement to begin with. So to have this notion of us being on a ball, to have a vacuum around us, to worry about whether or not it fits in line with entropic law is nonsensical. Because that assertion that we'd have a vacuum around a ball came from a measurement of a ground that's flat. So who cares? It's nonsense.
Well, isn't the answer to that question a definition for the gas pressure? The force exerted by the gas molecules in the walls of its container.
Yeah, that pretty much sums up the antecedent-consequent relationship that is gas pressure and containment. We must have containment for us to be at pressure. Ergo, the sky cannot be a vacuum, as is asserted in the heliocentric reification of a ball Earth derived from a flat plane measurement of a radial value by way of elevation angle measurement to Polaris to give you a minimum. That minimum being the equator on a ball, and then transpose all of the flat Earth measurements of latitude and longitude onto a ball that is effectively a protractor that you have used to measure a Polaris-centric system with a grid. So you can wrap the grid around a ball when it was measured on a flat plane. That concludes the housekeeping for today. This is going to be such a massive stark contrast, right? So what we're going to do now, from that, which was, would everyone agree that what we've just discussed is about as cutting edge as it gets?
Here, here.
Yeah.
Now we're going to cover Logan Paul.
Definitely.
So immediately, heavy swearing warning, because the guy who's with Logan Paul, I don't know his name, swears almost continually. So if you're put off by swearing, not a lot I can do about it, I'm afraid. It's just the nature of this particular beast. So trigger warning.
As long as we're not swearing.
I think it's just generally having swearing on the show offends viewers that are either in a shop or listening in a public place or have got kids around. You've got to give a fair warning when you're going to be covering Logan Paul. I wouldn't want my kids watching Logan Paul. Therefore, if somebody happens to be watching Flat Earth Debate because they find it very educational and tip of the spear and all the stuff I've just praised us for doing, and then you cover this, you got to give a bit of a warning. Or at least I feel that's the way. Anyway, let this videographer know, Impulsive Clips, know that at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, regardless of their size, which is enormous by comparison to us, they deserve as much help along the algorithmic way as we do not receive. So in spite of my title being consistent and having 2,000 shows on this subject, plus, you're never going to find me if you type in Flat Earth Debate, but you might find something like this. So we might as well cover what you will find, because you're not finding me when you type in Flat Earth Debate. So that's precisely how I found this. I typed in Flat Earth Debate, and this is what came up first for this week. You're like, okay, that's what you get. Not me, this. Let's see what this is, right? Everybody cool. I think we've already sound checked it.
Do you guys think the Earth is flat or round?
Oh, don't ask.
Why do you ask?
I'm just wondering, what type of time are y'all on?
Who's asking?
Rubi.
Who do you work for?
Just a question, guys.
What do you think it is?
I don't want to sound.
Immediate burden of proof reversal in terms of the question. Just answer.
I'm retarded, so I want to hear what y'all think.
Do you know?
Say it?
I think it's flat. I think it's.
No, you don't. That's what we've been saying.
Why isn't this man in jail for being overly aggressive? And this man seems like a maniac. So your reaction to somebody saying that the Earth is flat is to throw the microphone across the room on its boom arm, potentially flying off and hurting somebody. That's your reaction.
It just
Go ahead, whoever that was. We're only 2 minutes in. I'm sure somebody's got to be reacting to this. Obviously not. Just me that doesn't like the fact that Logan Paul hurled a mic across the room on its, well, not across the room, on its boom arm, as a result being told that somebody has an opinion on something.
I don't know,
Hello?
wrong way.
No, you don't.
I do. It's just I've watched so many videos.
Ruby, cut the shit. You don't think the fucking world is flat?
I don't know. I've watched a lot of videos.
That's a big problem, isn't it? So if you've watched a lot of videos, surely you should know by now whether or not it's flat and be able to relay that information to somebody that you're bringing it up in conversation with, because she's proactively brought this subject up. So why don't you convey the fact that it's measured flat immediately to your opponent? Because what they're going to come back with, well, we'll find that out in a moment, won't we?
I don't know.
Do you know me and him? Well, I guess he and I. Do you know we made a documentary on the flat Earth?
Documentary being you lying through your back teeth about being a flat earther in the case of Logan Paul, claiming a whole bullshit story about having a flat earth girlfriend. That's a documentary to you, is it, Clown Shoes?
So you guys agree that the Earth is flat?
In our parody documentary, yeah.
When we were surrounded by the dumbest people on the fucking
Oh, it was a
planet.
joke?
We posed.
So their view of their conference that they went to, the oh so wonderful waste of money that is flat earth conventioning, they just saw the entire affair as being surrounded by idiots. These two gentlemen, no offence to you gentlemen, you don't strike me as the sharpest tools in the box. No offence.
Oh, hold on. Can you blame them, Nathan? Can you actually blame them? They
No, I'm
weren't
agreeing with them,
surrounded by
Neil.
people
I'm
like
agreeing
us.
with them. I'm agreeing with them, Neil. I'm saying
Oh, I'm sorry.
the dumbed down masses get these two numpties. That's what gets presented to the great and washed, right? Now, I'm not going to call them completely idiotic, but they're not exactly geniuses either, are they? Let's be honest. Yeah? This guy's a fighter and this guy can only get about 4 words out without swearing and can't hardly string a sentence together. Let's be honest, that was his last performance. He struggled to get that last sentence out. So that's what we've got. And their opinion, your average Joe, around about 100 IQ each, are both saying we were surrounded by complete idiots. So they didn't leave the convention 18 months or however long ago it was that they went, going, yeah, we now know that the Earth is flat because we spent good money on a conference, and what we got when we went to the conference was people proving it to us in no uncertain terms. Yeah? That's not what they got from the conference. And what did the girl who's talking get from the videos? Well, she got an idea that she might want to bring it up in conversation, but she hasn't got anything cast iron to actually give them, has she? Go ahead, whoever that was.
Right.
No.
This is the problem. What do you believe the Earth is? Does it matter what you believe the Earth is? Does that have any effect on what Earth is, what you believe?
May I quickly interject on that?
Pig, yes, you may.
So it doesn't honestly really matter what you believe in, because belief is not important. What's important is knowing. The enemy of knowing is belief.
Yeah.
You can't know something if you believe in it, and vice versa. Once you see empirical data or evidence that contradicts your current belief or mindset and validates a certain topic or subject, and after like half a year to a year of intensive research and experimentation, everything leads to the same conclusion, then it's not a belief now, is it? It's more of a state of knowing, which is far more important.
Yeah, and I ascribe a lot of my anger in this subject matter as I've come up through the ranks of understanding could only be ascribed to me having a belief and feeling that I needed to defend it and convince others of that belief. Because the more I can convince others of my belief, the stronger the belief becomes. Well, that goes out the window as soon as you know it's measured that way. Once you know Earth's measured flat, that relinquishes a lot of stress in terms of worrying about whether or not you can convince next man of your belief. Whether his belief can trump yours. Go on, John.
But as far as knowing the Earth is flat, how would measurement play into knowing? And can you make that epistemological connection?
I don't understand your question.
Well, we measure Earth is flat. Well, how does that prove it's flat?
It's a statement of fact in terms of what you're doing with it, how it is and how it's measured, how it's utilized, how it functionally operates, how it's charted, how it's mapped, how it's built on. I don't really understand your question in terms of asking us for an epistemological aspect in that regard. What do you mean?
Well, it's the thing about the physical world, right? The measurement is to tell you what is. What is the Earth? Well, it's flat because we measure it that way.
Yeah.
The idea that someone would ask you what you believe the Earth is a setup to introduce a false dichotomy.
And that is the essence of why I wanted to cover this video today, to show you what the state of the general consensus view of this discussion is. It's how does our globe belief that we all struggle to hold on to because hardly anybody in the general normie world even understands their own globe belief. They just appreciate because they've been told they're on a sphere. And how that belief stacks up against someone with a contrary belief. You believe Earth's flat. I can't believe that you believe Earth's flat.
Was this flat earthers and infiltrated? This exists. The Flat Earth Convention.
Which I'll.
When you say infiltrated, what do you think you are? Sort of covert ops or something? You bought a ticket, presumably.
500 of these idiots all in the same spot talking about how the Earth is flat, each with their own like different opinion of why it's flat.
Yeah, big problem. That's what you've been left with. Yeah, that's why we don't appear when you type in flat Earth debate, and this does appear when you type in flat Earth debate. Because if you were to come here and go, well, what do you mean you believe the Earth is flat? And we went, no, nobody here believes the Earth is flat. That's how it's measured. That would be the end of the discussion.
It is the dumbest group of people I've ever seen in my life.
Wait, so how do we know that the Earth is not?
There's
flat?
a million fucking scientific data points that
Immediately, Mr. I can't string a full sentence together, can't quite realise that he's in a category error. Dunning-Kruger doesn't know what he doesn't know, obviously. Sorry, science deals with cause and effect relationships. Who's off mute in G+?
Me, because you know his background, that guy, Nathan? Not that it means anything, but come on. He's being ridiculous. He's a crackhead. He's an ex-crackhead.
Whatever. I don't care what he was or what he is. I can only go on what he's saying now. when he fails to string a full sentence together. And when he fails to string a full sentence together about what proves Earth's sphericity, he's saying science. Science deals with cause and effect. A shape isn't a cause and effect relationship. He's in a category error, but he doesn't know what he doesn't know. What he thinks he knows is that when I say science, I look smart, and the science for a globe. You know, just we're representative of your average Joe Normie, basically, isn't he?
That provide
Well, he says
info and
scientific
intelligence.
data points. He don't even say science. He says scientific data points.
Yeah, I
okay.
I covered that. Yeah, category error.
Around a spherical Earth. We've seen it from space. What do you want? What are you saying about the satellite?
What do you want? What do you want? We're going to tell you how you haven't seen it from space. You haven't been to space because space is equivalent to Narnia. There is no second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum above our head because gas, that's high pressure gas that we're all breathing going in and out of our lungs, that requires containment. And to assert that there is no contained system for the gas pressure we are all breathing, and there is a high vacuum directly above our head, is a violation of a law of nature that describes how gas disperses equally in all directions into whatever volume of space it has to fill. And what's that you say? The sky is a space for the gas to fill? Yeah, well, then it would fill it in line with entropic law. Ergo, there is no sky vacuum you call space for other people to lie about going to. Because you certainly haven't been there. You can't go there, neither can they. The astronauts who say they go to space are liars. Because there is no second law of thermodynamics violation, sky vacuum, space, for little green men to come to us from, or for us to go and find soil in the sky. It's utterly absurd and a violation of natural law.
Satellite imagery. It's fake.
Yes.
God dang it. Ruby.
Is them going to the moon real?
I was going to ask you that.
No.
Ruby,
why did they never go back?
So
your justification, Ruby, for them not going to the moon is a question about why they wouldn't go back. So your automatic inference is that they may or may not have been, we don't know, but you say they haven't, but then a question about whether or not they could go back. So the question is immediately geared around potentially going back to a second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum for a journey to a light in the sky we all believe is soil based on this narrative. No, because the narrative has got two problems. Number one, the orbital motions inferred for the moon and the sky vacuum and the Earth as a sphere have been inferred by the church's measurements of a flat plane with angles to the stars that can only be measured with a flat plane. Once you've got all that documented data for all the angular relationships for all of the stars with respect to a flat Earth, you can then take the system polar-eccentric and wrap it around a sphere. Even though the system will still work on flat maps, it has to. You're drawing circles of equal elevation when you navigate on the flat world with the flat map and the flat system, polar-eccentric, which has been wrapped around a globe for you to infer that, what, you can go to space and you have seen these things from space? No, you have not. There are no pictures from space because it's a second law of thermodynamics violation, and the measurements that infer it came from a flat plane.
You don't have to believe both, because I don't think we made it to the moon.
There's a
either.
lot of lies, y'all.
What do
There's
you
a lot of
mean?
lies.
Don't have to believe anything. It's measured flat.
Why not?
Gus
How is the
Grimace,
flag
baby.
waving in the
Gus Grimace, baby.
no gravity?
And everybody takes all these videos and says this happened, that happened. You speed it up a little bit. You see this. We're going back to the moon right now. We're going back.
Are we? We? Who's we? The men who claim that there's a sky vacuum are going back to the sky vacuum. Yeah, we are going back to Narnia. We're going to talk to Aslan. Highly controversial political issues in Narnia currently. Dead.
Can I just ask a question?
That gentleman invoked data points a moment ago.
John then... hold on a second,
okay.
John. Just one sec. John then TBT afterwards. Go ahead, John.
The guy invoked scientific data points, which is, just wrong. But data points, all the data points show the Earth is flat. That's the measurements. So I don't even think he understood what data points. We know he didn't know what science meant, but I don't even think he knows what data points are.
Yeah, if he's talking about measurement points as data points that aren't scientific because he's in a category error, then the measurement points are flat. But he doesn't know that, no. Go on, TB. TBT?
Cool. Look, I'm noticing something here. It's like I think people think they have a choice on whether they can accept facts or believe it. I think they think they have a choice whether to believe when something is a fact or not. Because I had a conversation yesterday with a colleague as well, and gave him all the facts. He said, "Nah, but I don't believe it." So I think that's also something to point out.
Well, that's cognitive dissonance at that point. We discussed this in the pre-show. At that point, once you've presented the scientific data points for Earth being measured flat, then you can either accept that because it's facts and measurements, or you can say, I choose a contradictory belief over these facts. That's cognitive dissonance. I choose to believe something that stands in opposition to this fact. That's cognitive dissonance. But what are you going to do with that? Is my follow-up question, TBT. What can you say to that? No, it's not. I believe it's a globe still. I believe that it's so big that we measure it flat. Okay? You enjoy your cognitive pain, my friend, is my response. And you just walk away. You can't do anything with that person anymore. If you just say, yeah, we do measure it flat, but that's because Earth's such a big sphere. You're like, okay, you live with that cognitive dissonance. I haven't got time for that.
That's when you got to wave your hand. That's the only hand wave we should do.
But it's not rhetorical to TBT. What can you do at that point?
No, I do nothing. The evidence is the facts are the facts. I walk away.
Like this guy on screen now. Let me beg. Let me assume that we're taking spherical measurements. Let me assume that the R value is actually spherical in the first instance and we've measured it. It's not been measured from a flat plane. Let me beg for the globe. You're like, no, don't beg me for the globe. You're trying to appeal to me with your fundy religious belief that you've confessed to being a belief now. I don't have a belief in how Earth's measured. That's just how it's measured. I don't need to concern myself with your fundamentalist religious belief about being on a sphere. That's all it is. A fundamentalist religious belief.
Yes,
Why have they never went
Someone's
back in
going
all
back,
these
either we,
years?
Russia, or India. I can't remember what it is. Somebody's going back to the moon right now.
There's a document.
Somebody's going back to the moon. That's good enough for me. Somebody's going to be talking to Aslan. They're holding court in Narnia. Good enough for me. No, my friend. You see, they're lying to you. It violates the law of nature to assert that you're travelling to a sky vacuum. Now, you haven't got the, mental faculties to process that. You just know that you've been told that India's going to the moon or Japan's going to the moon. So therefore, they're going to the moon, right? Of course they are. They've told you they are. Bless your little cotton socks.
Just watch the one. It's on Netflix.
It's called what?
I don't know what it's called, but it's like the Flat Earth documentary that it's on Netflix.
Okay.
And it's trailing flat earthers about their beliefs. And
that's the problem. Moving into 2024. I mean, we've got to be careful we don't get too big for our boots because obviously up until this point, there's a good chunk of us, not all of us on the panel, but I will take ownership of this and say it's me. But up until 2024, we had beliefs. We, by a stereotype fallacy, and I admit it already just for the convenience of making this brief. We had beliefs that Earth was flat, and many of them, and lots of different reasons to justify those beliefs. That's what we had. So therefore, you can stroll into, my bad, infiltrate a flat Earth convention and get all of the beliefs presented to you for you to laugh at. That's precisely what you can do. You can do it if you're really average in terms of your mental capacity. I'm not going to call them stupid. These two guys don't seem like below average or anything. They just seem normal, right? Normal, average people who walk around throwing microphones when they hear someone else's belief.
Homie accidentally proves that the Earth is round in his flat Earth experiment.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
He proves the Earth is round. So you're saying that Jaron offered flat Earth measurements, did he? And those turned out to prove that they were globe measurements, did they? All right, let's see how well he qualifies what we actually had as proof.
Well, sure. Have you heard of Occam's razor?
Oh, we're moving on immediately. So no qualification of what Jaron apparently did in the Netflix documentary Behind the Curve, just a claim, that's also known as a baseless assertion, that there was a measured proof of Earth's sphericity. No, there wasn't. Earth's measured flat. That's how it's mapped and navigated, charted, built on. Go ahead.
He just invoked Occam's razor, which has nothing to do with measurement. He's still in that category area, just wearing it out. No, Occam's razor does not come into measurement.
No.
Occam's razor is
The simplest
what would you
theory.
say,
The simplest theory, Tim.
but is it
tends
like
to
a
be the right
thesis?
one.
Is it a theory?
It's a theory.
It's a theory that the simplest explanation is.
Again, another category error. So theory, when you're the one defining it, is a big problem for you because you've already invoked the word science, scientific data points. Okay, so when you say theory, it immediately has an invocation of scientific theory because of the category you put it in, this guy. So a scientific theory is the explanation given after a cause and effect relationship has been established through systematic experimentation based on a hypothesis after observing natural phenomena. That would be to say something occurring in nature that you want to know the cause of. What's that? I wonder why that happened. Let's see if we can figure out why. At that point, you've got a dependent variable, naturally occurring phenomena. You then assume a cause. It's a suppositional statement at that point because you've got a supposed cause, that's called an independent variable, and an effect you're trying to induce, dependent variable. That, in essence, is a hypothesis. And an experiment is the actualization of a hypothesis. So you take your presumed supposition of cause, vary it, and see if you cause the effect that you first observed. So if you vary that supposition, and the thing you initially went, oh, wow, I wonder why that happened, happens, you know why it happened because you caused it to happen when you varied your presumed cause. It no longer is a presumed cause at that point, it's a validated cause and effect relationship. That's scientifically validated through experiment. That's what an experiment is, variation of presumed causes to see if they cause effects or not. That's science. Once you've done that, you can form a theory. You now think that we've got a theory that's Occam razor based. What, the most likely explanation? No. Empirically validated if it's science, but you don't know what science is. You're using it as a magic word to convince your opponent that you know more about how Earth's a sphere because you've been told that men are going to the moon again.
Is often the correct explanation.
Okay.
And there are so many things and explanations that prove the Earth is round and can be proven
Like
correct
what?
and true time and time and time again.
Okay.
And the same doesn't hold up for the flat Earth theory.
Ruby, when we were at the Flat Earth convention,
Okay.
we
That's so funny. y'all
we
went
spoke to
that.
a lot. We spoke to a lot of
They
people.
let me speak on stage.
Was there anything to react to in that?
That's-
I came out of the closet, the flat Earth closet.
And we got a lot of input.
You're just lying about the fact that you, laughing about the fact that you just lied to a huge number of people. Yeah, we just blatantly lied to them all. Yeah, we know.
Put from people in the community. We got to talk to a lot of them individually. And that fucking Mike. And you drank too much Prime Energy, bro. You're losing your mind. You haven't sat in one spot for 4 hours.
Oh my God. Is this you offering up a bit of subterfuge because you've got nothing to really say about the people that you had an interaction with? Just tell us that they didn't offer you anything beyond their belief so we can move on. Who cares how many bloody Red Bulls he's had?
It's not been the same since you brought out that Kevin Owens.
That
action
did get you
figure.
fired up. I'm sorry.
It did.
We spoke to one guy, kind of like the all-star of the community. His name's Mad Mike Hughes.
Don't do it.
Okay.
Don't do this.
Now,
What? You feel that Mad Mike Hughes was somehow a representative of us as a community? He was completely exclusive of the community until he realised he could get sponsorship for his rocket that he was already endeavouring to send up into the sky by steam power before he even heard of the subject.
Yeah, but do you see the damage they've done, Nathan?
Is it the last?
Who? Mad Mike? He's dead.
Mad Mike, the Flat Earth Convention, all of these Muppets. Look at the damage that they created. We're in damage control right now.
Maybe.
Yes,
No,
yes.
the path was
No,
paved
maybe.
for us to be here. We're only here because we followed that path, and now you look at the damage. Nah, we walked around a
Look, he
really
brought up Jiren too. Hold on. He brought up Jiren and that stupid Netflix things, and we're still having to deal with that. Morons.
Yes, Neil. 100%.
Okay. I'm just saying that up until I'm going to take this on my shoulders with my stereotype fallacy that I project out by simplicity and saying that up until 2024, there's a good chunk of us, or we, believed it was flat, like he's critiquing. And likewise, people like Jaron, who were out when they were doing the Netflix documentary, were trying to prove it by their own means when there was one under our noses the whole time. It's how the world was measured and mapped and charted and built on. But we were
Have you
trying to
any
prove it
evidence of that,
ourselves.
Nathan?
Say again.
Have any evidence that Jaron Campanella was trying to prove the Earth was flat?
That's what he's claiming to be doing.
Yeah, but considering what he did, it would be obvious that that was not what he was trying to do.
How do you know? You can't divine his thoughts.
Well, I can divine that what he did was, I don't have to divine his thoughts. I know what he's mentally capable of, and what he did is definitely below par, what he's mentally capable of.
That might be true, but what I can go by is...
there's other people around him to actually join in on the whole thing. Like, I don't know why you continually try to defend these people over and over again. How many times did he have to knife you in the back before you realise they are not on your side?
It doesn't matter whose side he's on. It doesn't matter that he opposes me and makes up lies about me and things like that. That's irrelevant. What matters is you're trying to divine his motivation, and I can go only on what he says he is trying to achieve. He's trying to make a experiment, in quotes, experiment. It's not. But that's what he's saying he's doing, and he's doing it so he can try and prove how Earth is flat measurably by firing a light through a hole at set distances, something along those lines. I forget what he actually did. It wasn't a cause and effect relationship validatable through systematic experimentation, therefore not an experiment. But nevertheless, based on what he's saying he wants to achieve, I can only take him at face value. I've taken a lot away from that videographer, by the way, Brian. That guy, Deception Detective, fantastic. We must cover him more, right? I spent a good chunk of time. I don't typically sit in live streams that are my own. I like my own show. But I did. I sat through his show. I only sat through it while a bit of my show was going on. Because I was so intrigued with how he approaches this stuff. And it is so similar to what we do, Brian. I can see why you wanted to draw the parallels now. Because they're all over the place. But one of the things he focuses on and didn't do, so we got an opportunity to critique him when we was talking about the alien discussion in Congress, was take people at face value. Don't read between the lines that there's something else going on in the news. There's some of the bigger deception afoot. When the guy's telling you about little green men, and that's explicitly what he's talking about, take him at face value. That's what he wants to talk about. Well, I can only do the same with Jaron. It doesn't matter how he opposes me. That's involving in personal experiences with an individual rather than taking what this guy, what's his name? I was about to call him Joe Rogan. I've forgotten his name already. Logan Paul. This is what Logan Paul is taking away from Jaron, and I have to put myself in an empathetic position of him with a black eye and go, he's not thinking about whether or not Jaron's calling Nathan Oakley a scammer for saying science proves things. He's saying Jaron went out with the intention of proving Earth's measured flat, and instead, according to them, he didn't. He proved it was a globe, according to the spin of Netflix. Does that mean that Jaron, because he's capable of much better things, is not trying to achieve that? Is what somehow shilling for the other side, intentionally feeding Netflix with a loss from the flat Earth side to be great in their document? I don't really understand how you can possibly derive that from what he said. I just don't get that.
I know how intelligent he has the capability to be, and I know what he showed in that documentary. After that documentary, even before that, I had my reservations about the guy and about the Globebusters in general.
Well, you broke up.
Now, I have to defend. Why do I have to defend myself when I state that these people are not the real deal? That these people, someone like Jaron Campanella, why do I have to defend that he has the ability to be much smarter than he often shows? Because he's proven this. You can't go from being smart to stupid, and then back to smart, and then back to stupid. It just doesn't work. So you can think of him what you like. I just would never defend that guy ever.
Okay.
And I'm not going to defend myself because I don't want to defend the guy.
Okay, well, maybe I've just got more empathy.
Maybe that's a bit of a straw man.
I can.
But you know
let
what
me
I
just
mean.
explain. I appreciate where you're coming from. Your view is, why would you ever defend him? Something's very much afoot, and we're in a position we shouldn't be in because of him. I get it. But by the same token, I can easily put myself in that position and see that without a path with QE in it, maybe I would be doing similar things and being criticised by people on shows going, I know Nathan's smarter than this. How can he make such a massive balls up? So with that in mind, I go, if I was in that position, would I hope to get a little bit more empathy from people, even when I've been really crappy to them, in this case, Jaron towards me? Yeah, I'd want them to put all of that aside for me, of course, if I'd done something dumb.
Well, look, I'm not going to labour the point because you're reviewing a video and this is going off track, but you know my position on it.
Length or just the story
It's
itself?
just the story. I'm saving it for Joe Rogan. I'm saving.
No, we've told on the show many times.
I don't think we have.
Yeah, we have.
Have we?
Yes, we have many times.
These guys a minute ago.
We don't have to.
Tell me the fucking story.
Okay.
One more time.
These guys just a minute ago, but just before this whole Jaron conversation turned up, they claimed there was loads of globe proof, and they've produced absolutely nothing.
So far, no, they've provided nothing other than a flat earther, based on their lies.
Sorry.
Go on.
Well, I think that they are of the opinion that if you can lie to someone and those people believe you, that makes you instantly, it makes them instantly, the people who believe you, instantly stupid. Now, anyone can tell someone a lie. Anyone can tell anyone else a lie and get it to pass over. So, does that mean that everyone who can make someone believe a lie is smarter than the person they lie to?
Just so we're clear, is infiltrate and lie synonymous?
Yeah, well, you're not being honest, that's for sure.
Okay, so Mad Mike Hughes, he was the, you can tell it even longer. He was the all-star of this community, right?
Okay.
Well, we
No, it wasn't.
asked him some questions. He gave us feedback, but we didn't have him sign I know there's a longer part of it. We didn't have him sign the release form. And he was infamous for getting very...
Sorry, what are we on now? Debunking flat earth, proving the globe, or besmirching a man that's dead now? What are we doing? What's this achieving?
It sounds like they're trying to set up a stereotype. They're setting up a stereotyping fallacy using Mad Mike.
Right, so Mad Mike's our stereotype. He's representative. He's the big pooh-bah of flat earth, according to this dude. Therefore, representative of all of us. And let's listen how kooky Mad Mike is, right?
Who got information from him without signing the release form.
One additional piece of context you have to know about Mad Mike Hughes.
Okay.
His nickname is Mad Mike Hughes
because mad.
He's mad scientist. He creates homemade rockets.
That's not a scientist. You don't know what a scientist is.
He flies in
and shoots himself into space or the air.
Into space? No, there is no space to go to. Yeah, the gas.
He said air. He did say air.
Well, regardless, he said space.
Mad Mike Hughes because he's mad scientist. He creates homemade rockets.
He flies in
and shoots himself into space or the air so he can prove that there is no curvature himself.
And that the earth is flat.
And he lives?
Yeah, he comes down afterwards, yeah.
Yeah.
No, he's dead.
So basically we asked him, we asked him some questions, he gave us some answers. The flat, he thought he was talking to someone who was very interested in the flat earth and was going to do him a service and a justice in bringing this information out. So we put out this pair.
What information did he bring out? What you've claimed is he was trying to achieve a debunking of a presupposition of an Earth curve based on a radial value taken from flat Earth measurements. He's going to debunk that reification fallacy by going up into the space/air with a rocket. That was what you told us.
Video where it's so obvious that we've clowned this entire community. The world finds out that we think these people are fucking morons. And about...
I mean, at least we agree with something apart from the swearing, because we don't do that here. Ever. But we agree with you. Many of flat earther is a moron, because they've only got a belief in this subject, and they'll tell you all kinds of nonsensical stuff, just like Mad Mike did, presumably. Debunking reifications of Earth curve geometry. We did that in 2020. We didn't do it with a steam-powered rocket, with a sponsorship from Infinite Plane Society saying the Earth is flat on the side. We did it with a logical consistency argument known as the Black Swan. It's modus tollens. If Earth was a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles, then every distance to horizon measurement could be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, as per your claim of a globe. The distance to horizon in the image we call the Black Swan is beyond the geometric limitations you assert when you say the Earth's a sphere. Therefore, Earth's not a sphere, and the horizon's not Earth curve. It was debunked in 2020. Now, that logical consistency, if it was even understood by either of these two panel members, if it was put to them, debunks the assertion that Earth has a sphere edge for a horizon. and any sphericity. Further to that, logical consistency, if you were going to try and attempt to debunk it from that angle, which you're inferring Mike was, isn't necessary in 2024. Why? Well, because the initial measurement to give you a radial value to beg the question that a sphere Earth horizon is going to block boats and buildings was measured from a flat plane in the first instance. So the fact that the assertion of your reification of a ball Earth beneath your feet was based on measurements of Earth being flat instantaneously debunks this notion. So what? Mad Mike went up to debunk reified sphere edges? No need.
And about 2 months later, him and I are served a court document that we are being sued by Mad Mike Hughes. We have to go to court to defend ourselves.
How'd y'all get served?
By fucking Seth Rogen from Pineapple Express. Wow. I don't fucking remember.
So this becomes about whether or not you've infringed on somebody who you didn't get a release from, as opposed to their fantastic evidence in the past because they're not alive anymore. You haven't really presented any of that, though. You've presented a weak argument, and now we're off on a segue. Well, why? Well, based on the analysis that we've been offered recently by people like Deception Detective, it's because they're not confident in their rhetoric. They need to take it on things that they are confident about and know well, which this story about a pending legal issue with Mad Mike, they know well. So that's what they'll talk about. But as for the wishy-washy understanding of why the Earth's a sphere, they've got nothing. Like, literally nothing. We've been to space. No, you haven't. Space is a violation of natural law. That's what you've got so far.
You've been served. Like, so they brought us this thing, right? And it said on it, like, you guys are facing, a $500,000 fine and up to 3 years in prison, like each. It was like a major fine
for our heads.
for libel and all this stuff. So we're like, fuck, we got to prep to go to court with this dude. We're like talking to lawyers or whatever. And we're about to go into a deposition where he presents his findings, so on and so forth. But before he comes to court to present...
That's what I think Mad Mike was all about. That was what he was angling for with people like you. Yeah? Just getting money out of you.
His deposition, he wants to take one last rocket mission to prove that the Earth is...
Don't tell me this nigga dies.
I opened up Twitter one morning.
This
Headline:
nigga died? Wow.
Mad Mike Hughes dies in fatal homemade rocket accident.
Look at God.
He crashed his rocket.
Yeah. Wow. So flat earthers end up killing themselves in rockets. Meanwhile, Earth's measured flat, mapped flat, built on flat. That's how it is.
Look at that.
The parachute didn't deploy.
That is fucking crazy.
So we're in this position.
Well, no, I mean,
what do you do?
Say?
We don't want him to. We don't want Mike to die. But I can also say that
Y'all
I didn't want
saved $500,000. Yeah.
Yeah. Mad Mike has absolutely no bearing on our argument whatsoever. Let's be honest about this. Earth's measured flat. That's really the only argument that matters now.
God damn.
Shit. Rest in peace, Mad Mike Hughes. Fucking legend. The Earth isn't flat. Hey guys, if you like that clip, hit the subscribe button. And if you want to see more zany clips, click the video right here.
Yeah, you can watch Logan Paul lie through his back teeth to a whole group of people. Maybe you'll be scamming them for crypto money. Who knows? Anyway, that was Logan Paul's video. Let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. So I'm going to stick a link in the live stream chat right now, as that is pretty much the end of their video, besides his call to action, which I'm now doing on his behalf. So Impulsive Clips is the name of this particular channel. Please go and leave him a comment which says at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. And with a little bit of luck, I'll let whoever that is while I'm doing my call to action. Hopefully a few people will go and do it while I'm doing this. Hopefully we'd get a response. In other words, whoever runs this channel, Logan, if it is him, will do a response and say, we don't measure it flat. Jaren, look, here's my cited source for measuring Earth's sphericity. It's Jaren. Okay, well, let's see how that stacks up against the entire cartography of the known expanded world that we live on, which was measured flat. We'll see how you get on. Maybe we'll get a link to our video in his video, which is really the only reason we do this, because in spite of all the popularity that Logan Paul has already garnished, he will come up before I do in my specialist subject when you type in Flat Earth Debate. You'll get this garbage, talking about legal issues with men who go up in steam-powered rockets. That's what you get. Anyway, hopefully that's given enough time for people to go and actually click the link and say, at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Also, shout out to Unitox Femu. If I can just go and find it so I can read it on my other screen. If you were in space, that means I was in the space. If you was in the space, that mean I was in the space. That's your typical Sasha's cryptic super chat. Thank you very much for the support, Unitox Vemu. Really appreciate it.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, got a sidebar for you.
Okay.
Rob Noxious has been in your YouTube chat, and he said that you invited him over to talk.
Did I?
From Earth Awakenings. I don't know. That's what he said, and he's trying to get in to talk to you, but someone has banned him from the server for threatening you or something. I don't know. I just want to let you know.
Yeah, that was the guy that I called a dick when he was talking to us last time because he asked me a very specific question. Adam was here, and in the middle of the answer to his question, in fact, several questions, one of them was about who was it that told you Earth was measured flat, or who was it that measured flat first? Give me a name. And I'm like, okay, well, the only thing I can reference is Harold Jacobi, because it's the earliest book I can reference from my pea brain that hasn't bought any of these books. They're all bought by 10th Man. That has referenced Earth in terms of things like beyond the horizon, being out of space, elevation angle measurements, meeting at 90 degrees to the ground position systems, out in all directions, flat for miles and miles and miles. All of those descriptions, how Earth is navigated flat, measured flat, were referenced to Harold Jacobi. Before I'd even finished the sentence and tried to tell him twice, he accused me of just not wanting to tell him. In other words, he's not interested in listening. That's who that guy is. So, it's like, well, you've kind of had several chances, even when I've gone to other people's servers and you're not banned from them, to engage with a discussion that's reasonable. And what he's chose to do in each and every opportunity is ignore what's being answered. His opener was to say, we don't answer any questions. And then he proceeded to rumpus every answer we gave him, quite dutifully, upon being asked questions. So, yeah, I'm not surprised he's banned. But I don't run the server, so, if somebody who does run the server went, we'll give him a second chance, I wouldn't care. Like I say, I don't run the server. But it doesn't surprise me he's banned. Any more on the Logan Paul video? Thank you for that segue. Very handy.
You're welcome.
Any more comments? I want a general comment from the people in Discord and G+, if you can offer it, in regards to the general view of what flat Earth would be were you to search for it. Because it's been a long time since I've searched myself in that regard and typed in flat Earth debate to see what comes up. I did it today just on the off chance that, heaven forbid, I would appear. Far from it. But to see what do you get? I remember, before I even had the show, typing in flat Earth debate. And I remember what I got as a result. It certainly wasn't this. Anyway, go on. That's what I want to get an idea from you anyway. That's what I want the discussion to be about.
You get a girl who believes it might be flat, and you get two guys who are obviously lawyers who say there's loads of globe proof, and they don't present any. That's what you get. So it's a consensus. You get consensus belief versus belief in the minority. That's what you get.
And stereotyping fallacy and a personal attack.
Yeah, you can throw them in as well, and all that other stuff. Yeah.
Any other comments on this? Like I say, this is the general state of affair of flat Earth debate. If you type it into YouTube, this is what you're going to be delivered.
Well, how they can class that as a debate, I don't know, when it's just a conversation on some. You know what it is? It's a conversation going on an American podcast, or just, let's say, one of these urban type podcasts, where you have a girl there who will use the N-word, and you have guys there who just can't wait to swear. You know what I mean? It's like how is that a debate about anything? I mean, that's just three people who could be just sitting at a bus stop. You know what I mean? Let's be honest. Consider what they're talking about, and you know what I mean. What education did anyone get out of that?
None. Absolutely none.
Nothing. And the girl, if she does have an interest and she does think there was something to it, is she going to get to any proof, or is she just going to be showing more nonsense? You know what I mean? And end up, because there's probably a lot of people like her are out there scratching their head because they know there's something to this, but they just can't seem to find where you get all the evidence, because they're being bombarded with people like Logan Paul and stupid anti-flat earth videos and all this. So how does this girl, if she has a genuine interest, how does she ever find here? You know what I mean?
Doesn't.
It's like, yeah.
If she was to say, well, I want to brush up my flat earth debate skills, I wonder what I'll find on YouTube. If I want to screw a fridge in or fix a compressor, I can find out how to do it on YouTube. So surely if I type in flat earth debate, I'll find my route to getting better at debating flat earth with a show that's called Flat Earth Debate that's had more than 2,000 episodes specifically on this subject. No, you won't. No. But you, metaphorically searching for it, would have got this garbage by equivalence at any point that you search for the subject. So her thinking that she's fat, she still thinks it's flat.
I'm sorry, but that's good, Nathan, because we're definitely
so good it
over
needed
target.
interruption, it seems. Go ahead.
Thought you were done. You did stop. Well, it appeared that you stopped. We're over the target. That's why you're never going to be recommended. Look what they're recommending, this nonsense. Because if they recommend Flat Earth Debate or QE Live, they're going to get proof that Earth is flat. They're going to get a no-so bunch of people, not a belief system. So you're never going to get, they're never going to search and find you. That's what I'm trying to say. And it's done by design.
Yeah, well, that's all we can do in this regard is appeal to algorithmic love and support from our fellow YouTubers. Who, obviously, Logan Paul's going to appreciate the hard graft it takes when you know, are honest and, upstanding community member of YouTube and you don't deceive people and things like that. You can appreciate how much of a struggle it would be to be an honest, law-abiding YouTuber in that regard, right? And therefore, you'd want to share the algorithmic love with somebody who's been deprived of it. Nah, of course not. People like Logan Paul are only interested in their own path, and for him, infiltrating and lying to 500 people, as he's openly declared to do on his own show, just warranted a laugh. He just thought that was really funny.
Well,
Nathan, maybe find out who this girl is.
Rubi Rose.
She's also she's an influencer as well. So maybe find out who she is. And let's get her YouTube channel and leave her the review of this video.
I mean, fine. If you're an audience member, and I haven't got a link to Rubi Rose that I can put in the chat to say, look, let Rubi Rose know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. And if she did want to find out how to shut these two numpties down like that, then she can find that out here. Now, maybe if she found her way to it by a member of the audience, a member of the community, somebody who hears this show and goes, I know how I can post on her Instagram. I know how I can post on her X feed. I know how I can post on a YouTube comments section. And they happen to get that information to her. Maybe she'll watch a couple of shows. And if she's watching the recent shows in 2024, within a very short period of time, she'll go, oh, it's measured flat. Oh. And then she'll annihilate people.
I was thinking about Mad Mike there for a second, and they admitted he went up into the sky, didn't they? At some point, they said he got a rocket and he fired it up. Up requires a plane of reference. They didn't say out, did they?
No, they said up. You're really fishing for this, but I love it all the same. It's great. They're going to need a flat plane.
The Earth is clearly level and stationary.
One more time, whoever that was, you're going to get the last word before I round out for the live stream watchers, at least.
It's clearly level and stationary.
What other topics besides the FE do you talk about here? Is it exclusively FE, or is there something else as well?
On Flat Earth Debate.
Flat Earth Debate.
Yeah.
Just
okay.
That. Yeah, it's just that.
Have you ever gotten into the spiritual effects of Flat Earth and how important it is when it comes to spirituality, as well as physics and, well, everything else in essence, how important it is for the procreation and so on?
Yeah. If you ever, can you pop yourself on mute, please? Pig horrendous background noise. Yes. So a question in regards to gravity will inevitably lead to the ontological primitives. So therefore, you're going to conclude that there is a God, or at the very least, the world was created by an external entity. So yeah, we do in that regard, but it is directly linked to flat Earth because of the claims made by our opponents to get around the fact that you're not on a flat plane, you're stuck to a spinning water ball, therefore you've got to have a non-force force that's a defiance of the entropy description. Well, the entropy description then has forces ascribed to that, and when you actually get down to trying to ascribe a causal relationship to entropy, you end up at the ontological primitives. And then you're asking yourself, well, how did the world begin? And when you come to an understanding of how quantum mechanics works and how a Noah must be involved, please can you put yourself on mute, whoever it is that's making all that background noise? Pig. Yeah, you come to the conclusion that there must be an external force that's created everything, because you can't have the information or knowledge without a Noah. So yes.
Thermodynamics. Neither matter nor energy can be created nor destroyed by nature, which means nature didn't create itself.
Yeah, the undoing of the one part of the... I mean, you can automatically take a true dichotomy to be true if you debunk one of the principles in that true dichotomy, which the ontological primitives are a true dichotomy. Ergo, what Brian's just said is sufficient. As soon as you say that the one side of the ontological primitives, that's to say nature, produced itself, or however you want to phrase that, well, that in and of itself is a violation of a description of how things occur in nature always. That is to say that nature cannot create energy if energy can't be created or destroyed. It violates that principle, automatically leaving the true dichotomy statement about an external entity creating us as automatically true.
Yeah, it leaves no doubt. The first law of thermodynamics leaves no doubt, unless you want to deny the first law of thermodynamics. There's no doubt. There can be no doubt. If you're just looking for natural proof of a creator, the first law of thermodynamics is all you need. There can be no doubt. If you want to deny it, that's on you.
That's still very, very much related to flat Earth debate, though. Some would argue, and I don't necessarily disagree with them, that that is the point of the whole deception. I don't necessarily align with that because it is just by nature a control structure, like many others that we are subject to. Therefore, there's a more overarching control that it offers, as opposed to just leading you away from God. That is certainly one aspect of it, though, because its premise, its heart, what Lemaitre gave us in the form of the Big Bang, which is nice because we can summarise their beginnings as a violation of the first law. But that means that you're asking those questions, and it leads you to those answers because of the nature of the ground we're standing on, which is quite weird when you think about the starting point. Well, we just stand on a flat ground. How does that affect me in any profound way? Well, it's quite fundamentally profound when you realise the end point of the ontological primitives and a creator. That's pretty profound, just based on the starting point of you realising that the Earth is obviously, observably, navigably flat.
Well, Lemaitre, who was Lemaitre? He was a Jesuit astronomer for the Vatican. He represents, and still does, the Vatican. So the Vatican gave the world the Big Bang colloquial theory. You know what I mean? I mean, we can go through all three laws, the three laws of thermodynamics, and the globe and heliocentric paradigm is in violation to all of them.
There's four laws.
There's the zeroth law, is it? That one?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm not up on that, so I don't talk about it.
What was that? I didn't catch that. What's the fourth?
Kiwi will tell you.
Or he won't. I'm going to step away anyway. I'm going to go and get a coffee. I hope the conversation continues for 10 minutes.
Sorry, I'm eating breakfast. I had a mouthful, so I didn't want to rude.
I can't remember the full details of the zeroth law, so I don't speak about it. I'd have to look at it again.
It has to do with breakfast. I'll give you a hint. It's breakfast related.
Or you could tell us about it because you obviously know about it.
breakfast
Don't try to talk to QE before you get breakfast. Yes. Yeah, don't try to talk to QE before he has breakfast.
I just want to know if his breakfast is flat.
No, his eggs have topology.
Let's go through the three laws of thermodynamics, right? Let's talk about the first three, not the zeros. We wait for QE to come in with that because I don't know enough. I don't remember that well enough to speak on it. We know the first one, right? That neither matter nor energy can be created nor destroyed by nature, right? That means nature didn't create itself. And everything in nature is only a recycling. There is no replenishment being created. The earth is not creating things from nothing, if you know what I mean. It's recreating them, if you know what I mean. It's not like losing gases to the vacuum of space and then recreating these gases. That's not happening. So that's the first law. Second law of thermodynamics, hot will always go to cold, high pressure will always go to low pressure. Well, you know what I mean? What more do you need? Where is the, right? Gas will diffuse, right? Gas will diffuse into a vacuum, right? So where is the resistance for that gas diffusing into the heliocentric space sky vacuum? Where is the resistance? Because there would have to be resistance to stop it doing that. Now, there is resistance, right? But not to stop it from expanding into a heliocentric sky vacuum. But there is a resistance for the gas that's at pressure and that requires a container to be at pressure. But there is a resistance, and that resistance is temperature, right? So temperature has a control over gas outside of a container, right? Once it's contained, temperature can control gas. But then it goes into the third law, and let me just say, the third law, I don't have this 100% correct verbatim, but a pure crystalline solid will have zero entropy at 0 Kelvin, right? Now, they say that that's not true. I don't know how true this is, but say that's not true for other things, other substances, and I think super cool gases or liquids will still have entropy at 0 Kelvin. Now, I don't know if this is all theoretical, but how do you have temperature on a globe? Temperature requires containment. Without containment, how are you going to have temperature? You're not going to have temperature. So you're not going to have the entropy like we see in reality because you won't have temperature, which is a massive, as QE says, the sun is a massive entropy generator, the biggest one out there. You know what I mean? You look at a dead body in the sun, like or an animal that's died. The sun, like just within a day, the body it just becomes like flattens out and becomes like nearly just a stain on the road if it's a roadkill. You know what I mean? Or look at what the sun does. So temperature is so important to what we describe as entropy. And look what the sun does. For us, it creates massive temperatures. Radiative heat heats the ground, and then conductive heat, that heat goes into the air, and then it becomes convective heat in the air. Right? How do you have any of that if you don't have a container? The heat is not going to stay there because there won't be gas even to be there. There won't be gas because you won't have a container, and you don't have heat, temperature, because you don't have gas to have it. You might have some radiative heat, but you won't have anything. You're not going to. Where's that heat going to go to? And then the vacuum issue. How could the vacuum of space is the bulk of a vacuum because we know in reality we need a vacuum or a container for a vacuum, but they're claiming a vacuum without a container. So either their paradigm is correct and the vacuum doesn't require a container, or their paradigm is incorrect, the vacuum does require a container. I mean, no matter what way they twist or turn it, the laws of thermodynamics absolutely annihilate their paradigm. They must have to. I don't know. As I said, I don't remember the zeroth law, and I'm not totally no expert on the third law, but you don't need to be an expert. You just need to know the basics of the first and second law, even, and they have to deny them because there's no way for them to work or to happen as they happen within their paradigm. How can they?
I guess the easiest answer is they don't happen on a sphere. That stuff does not play out on a sphere.
Correct. Without a container, you can't have any of the things Brian's describing.
We can't have gas pressure, you can't have temperature, you can't have vacuum without a container. And Rumpus let the cat out of the bag when he said the second law doesn't apply to the Earth. In his world, his paradigm, it doesn't apply because it can't. It can't be a law there within his paradigm because it couldn't be.
Yeah, because it don't work. You need containment. We are contained. We are a design system designed by the creator.
A flat, stationary, enclosed, self-automated dynamic system. That's the best overall description of the system.
Agreed.
Not only that, but the implications of the flat Earth are far greater and more vast than most people can comprehend. Everything about the flat Earth, it's just the stepping stone to everything else that is to come. When it comes to esotericism, spirituality, the Taurus field, everything that Nikola Tesla worked on, all of it.
Back up. The second time you mentioned spirituality.
Yeah. What about it exactly?
I'm just my spider senses are tingling, and I'm hoping you're not an Ethereum.
Can you explain what Ethereum means?
An ether believer.
No, I'm governed by. I go by the phrase "the enemy of knowledge is belief," and I try to stay in a state of knowing and not in belief.
Oh, thank God.
Do you know
everything
the ether
about.
exists?
Excuse me?
Do you know the ether exists?
Yes, I've actually done electroculture and seen massive improvements on the crops that I was growing.
Wow.
John,
I thought you went the other way.
John, that was you did it. That was really clever.
He's a clever guy because he had me fooled.
Well, could you walk us through the evidence of the ether that you just gave? Doing electro dive. I can't remember what you said. It sounded eloquent, though. Please continue.
Electroculture? Electroculture? You mean that?
Yeah. How does that prove ether?
What is electroculture first, please?
So, in essence, I'm gonna try to keep this short because I'm still at work and I don't wanna, like, you guys hear constant sounds that might be hurting your ears and stuff from the car closing and so on. So basically, everything, the entirety of nature is like reality itself. The Earth, the flat Earth that we live upon, has a torus field or toroidal field around itself. So do human beings. Interesting coincidence, if you will. Whoever believes in coincidences, I don't. Earth and heart are anagrams for each other. They can both be spelled out with the same letters. As above, so below. As within, so without. The torus field is an electromagnetic field. Yes?
How did you validate that everything has a torus field around it?
No, I said the Earth and human beings.
Human beings,
like the Earth itself.
The human brain does have an electric charge. That is true.
Yes, we do have an electric charge.
But
Well, hold
you're
on a
saying
second.
that there is a torus field around me. How did you validate that there was how did anyone validate that there's a torus field? That's a bit of a step.
Well, then this is going to take a lot longer than I have right now to talk about. So,
No, it won't. You just got to tell us how you measured the torus field. That's all we need.
a torus field, every magnet has one. First and foremost, the Earth has a negative or neutral charge, and the atmosphere has a positive charge. There's a pressure gradient in between. And so the firmament, if you will.
They're asking you how it was
I-
measured. How did you measure it for us? Start with us and then go on to Earth, and just tell us what the measurements are. Scientific data points.
I can't do that. I can't do that at the top of my head. I don't have anything with me. I don't know everything on the top of my head, man. I got a whole bunch of shit at home. Pardon for my French. I got a whole bunch of stuff at home, but right now I'm what's the word? Mobile, if you will. I'm delivering packages, so I don't have anything with me except my phone.
So am I. That's no excuse. I deliver packages all day long. Tell us about your ether.
Hold on, no, that's fair enough. Why don't we table this discussion until you have a chance to get to your information, and then you can come back and tell us how a toroidal field was measured that surrounds Earth.
Well, when
I
you
can
said
do
that,
that.
he said magnets.
Well, electromagnetism, yeah. The torus field is electromagnetic field.
Can he tell us what is ether?
One second, let me pull it up for you. 1 second, so I can give you the full definition.
Wow.
I knew it. My spidey senses never fail me.
Man, the guy's pulling over to give us a definition. This is a first.
Yeah, like I said, this guy seems, reasonable. He understands the dichotomy of belief versus knowing. I'll give him a chance to see what he's got.
Oh, I thought he did.
Well, we'll have to talk amongst ourselves till he has pulled over and let us know that that's the case.
We will find out, won't we? But I think you have a definition of ether, Nathan, right? You don't have to rattle it off right now, but that's interesting. I want to see how this lines up with your definition.
Well, hopefully we'll find out
Well, I
soon.
mean, as long.
So I'll try to do it like this.
Sorry, John, bad timing. Go on, pig.
Go ahead, man. Say what you had to say first.
Go ahead, John.
I'm gonna have a hard time accepting that you're taking a measurement of something that is claimed to be non-physical by everyone that we've met. So it's going to be hard. I'm saying it's impossible, but let's see how you get on.
Okay, go ahead, pig.
So when people talk about the ether or ether, they're talking about the electromagnetic field that the Earth has or the toroidal field. It is important to understand that the inner volume of every atom is magnet dielectricity, the two symbiotic forces represented by the yin and yang, which is magnetism, the creator of space, and dielectricity, the eraser of space. The dielectricity in our atoms seeks rest, silence, and stillness, while the magnetic field is constantly in motion, maintaining its volume through dimensional force via centrifugal divergence, which would be right turning or redshift, and which is the full extrapolation of the centripetal convergence or blue shift, left turning. Therefore, magnitude is the post-Bohr attribute of a magnetic diverging magnetic field. The dielectric field or counter space is a is pure energy and potential, whereas magnetism is the loss of energy and potential, or pure impotency. Only when these two ether field modalities act upon each other do you get electrification and actualization. The best example I can give, or description of what counter space is, so dielectricity, or that is magnetism. It is like you can imagine it as like a giant toothless dragon peacefully sleeping in a pitch black dungeon. Nothing but pure potential. You can't describe it any other way. So magnetism, which Tesla said, has no attributes because it is massless, weightless, particle lacking, and invisible, yet it releases force and it carries electricity. Thus Tesla called the heavens above the luminiferous ether, because he knew that ether field carried the luminaries. Magnetism is both voluminous and luminous. That's in essence what a toroidal field is. You have.
But we asked for ether.
Yeah. No, hold on. See that all those concepts that you just introduced in that are all based in heliocentrism. Are you a heliocentrist?
No, they're actually also based upon the flat Earth. Like all of this works perfectly on a flat Earth with no exceptions. When I say no exceptions, I mean as far as I have contact.
Right. When Tesla was talking about the luminiferous ether, he was talking about the space that gas isn't filling. Do you think a place like that exists?
Can you repeat that one more time, please?
When Tesla was talking about the luminiferous ether, he was talking about a place that gas did not fill. Do you believe such a place exists?
Does he talk about that? Are you sure about that?
Yeah, you called it counter space.
Okay, then yes. Yes.
Where do we observe this counter space?
Not everything is. So I'm gonna reference the Bible for a quick second, where it says everything that is visible or seen is created by that which is created by that which is invisible. Man, can you not interrupt? If you keep interrupting, I'll just leave the call. It's no worries, man.
We're just asking where counter space comes from. Where can we see this? As opposed to a reference from the Bible.
What if you said, yea, verily, Neil, for 'twas on the fourth day that the ether was conjured.
Go ahead.
Where do we see counter space, Pig?
Well, he might be a little gun shy after Neil got rude with him.
I don't blame him.
Well, all I'm getting is it was there.
Neil, brah.
So, no offense to you, man, but you really need to take a chill pill and learn how to just chill and not yell always, constantly, and interrupt. I'm just gonna right now leave the call because I don't feel that good right now. I'm gonna collect myself and come back later.
Okay, but just before you do, Pig, it's the most important question. Where do we see this counter space? That's the most important question.
I don't know how to explain it in English at the moment.
Can't just point it in a place where we could see it.
Take a magnet, like a normal magnet, and you can see that there is a toroidal field around the magnet with a level plane of inertia in the middle that separates the two two parts, north and south, or magnetism and dielectricity, high pressure, low pressure, red shift, blue shift. One is right turning and going from inwards outwards. The other one is left turning going outwards in. Respectively, that's magnetism and dielectricity. You can find it there.
Yeah, but we asked for where we'd see
When you
counter
say-
space.
He said he
I don't
wasn't
know how
feeling good, and he doesn't have the information in front of him. I would suggest.
John, stop
him
trying
that-
to give him a stop trying to give him a get out. Brian's got a question he's been trying to get in.
He wants to go. He's already tried to excuse himself twice. That's what John's saying. Fine, Pig. If you've got to go, you've got to go. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully you'll answer more questions about Ether next time. Ideally where we see counter space. That'd be great.
Thank you for having me. I hope
Pleasure.
everybody has a wonderful day. Much love to all.
Except Neil. Thank you for being here.
And this is what I want
Everybody,
to say.
man,
This is the problem. God, I thought you left. This is the problem we have with flat Earth. This is the problem.
It's not, man. It's truly not the problem. That's all I'm going to say right now.
No, it is the problem.
We'll talk another time, my brother. Much love to you as well.
I don't agree with the way Neil is putting his point across, but I absolutely agree with Neil's point.
Yeah, man. Like, yo, Neil,
Brian,
you
it's
need to chill out,
frustrating,
buddy.
Brian,
Yo,
because we
Neil.
hear the same thing over and over
Oh, my
again.
goodness, man.
The same thing, and nobody's giving us ether.
Someone's talking there, Neil.
Bro,
before
you can't
start.
be yelling at people, man. You can't be yelling at people, bro. You got to learn how to talk, man. Chill out a little bit.
Okay. Listen to me. Don't tell
No,
me what I
just
can
a
and
little
can't
bit, bro.
do.
Just a
I've been
little bit.
dealing with
Knock
this
back,
ether for
bro.
how long? We
Just a
have
little bit,
we have
my dude.
a representative for the Ethereans, and that's Adam, and he's calm, cool, and collected. Neil is not, because Neil has been asking for ether for years now, and I keep getting magnets, magnetism, toroidal fields, counter space, enough of the bullshit. This is what is hurting flat Earth. Tell me I gotta calm
Neil,
down.
you scare people off, Neil. You know. I mean, instead of getting like a conversation that we can actually like delve into, you ruin it. So can you
One more
chill
time,
out?
Duncan.
No, I can't
I'm just
chill out.
saying.
No, somebody else
Let's try
tells
that
me
again,
what to
Neil.
do here. I
One
swear
more
to
time,
God.
Duncan. One more time, Duncan.
I'm just saying that even though you may have good points, you scare people off, and we can't delve into the conversation that we want, like we would like to. And so, if you could chill out, that'd be nice, Neil.
No, I can't. Not when it comes to ether. Okay? You can indulge in this nonsense all you want, but it's nonsense right from Jump Street. And I could sniff out nonsense. And this is nonsense.
Well, let's prove that it's nonsense and let them talk. Let them speak their.
I gotta prove of non-existence or something. I gotta prove it.
No, we let them prove. I just asked him what counter space was. Just chill, bro.
You just have an imagination.
Somebody else tells me to fucking chill. You know what?
Well, I did ask him if he believed it was a space that gas wasn't filling, and he did confirm that's what he thought it was.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask.
Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
I'm just saying, he said belief is the enemy of knowing earlier, and then he just accepted something without ever knowing it, just because it was part of a belief. So he contradicted himself. When he agreed that counter space existed, there's no knowing of this, no proof of this. He just believed it, which contradicted his earlier statement that he lives by the motto of knowledge, or belief is the enemy of knowledge. Sorry, John.
And another red flag was that he couldn't explain what he was talking about simply. He had to look it up. If you don't understand it well enough, you should, or if you understand it well enough, you should be able to explain it simply.
Yeah, well, that's what happens with Ethereum stuff, though. It all gets convoluted and complicated. I would have gone down the road eventually of and maybe it'll happen in the future, of the dielectric acceleration claims, the negative earth, positive sky, all this stuff. That's where I would have gone, but maybe the next step.
Yeah, all we have to do is just let them speak, and then they'll end themselves, and then laugh. That's why it's better to
Well,
take
he's
it that
willing
way,
to
Neil, in
speak.
my
He's
opinion.
willing to come in and say something. That's something. Do you know what I mean? He's willing to come in and say something. Right?
Right. That's why we should let them speak without, being, I don't want to say rude, but,
I understand Neil's frustration. I do understand Neil's frustration, but Neil is hot-tempered. But even if his frustration appears over the top, his points are correct. Well, he hasn't said that.
Excuse me, Brian. That guy wasn't allowed to speak? Because I listened with uninterrupted dribble for about, I'd say at least 2 minutes. Uninterrupted.
I'm not saying you stopped them from speaking. I never said that, Neil. It's just that when you get frustrated, you get angry. I think that kind of, I hate to say it, but that was the route out. The guy kind of got you. Oh, now he wasn't going to hang around.
Yeah, he was looking to go out anyway. He was looking to run anyway because he had nothing. You know it, I know it. As soon as you put him against the wall, they got to go. He's got to do a delivery. I do deliveries all day long, and I'm still on and off the show.
Now you're right, Neil, but let's not give him an excuse to leave. Let's not give him that excuse.
I left, and I gathered myself. So whoever you are, please, just stop talking to me.
What I was going to say, though, is, like, there's the possibility of him, he knows that gas fills space, but he believes there's a space that gas isn't filling.
Yeah, he agreed with it.
Right. And I left the contradiction in the air. I don't know if he actually thought about it. That might be
He's
the problem.
agreeing to a sky vacuum. That's what he agreed to.
It sounded like he was saying that the counter space was inside of the field. The field itself is what I gathered from it.
Yeah, but the counter space then would be within a toroidal field, if what I'm remembering of what he said. So it's not observable then? Because we don't observe toroidal fields.
It's not the space on a counter. It's counter space. It's not in our space, in counter space. It's not occupying anything here. It's in counter space, any occupation.
So, Adam, where can we view this ether? I know that you know that at a certain time we could view the ether. When is that again?
In the perturbation of the manifestation.
Monday through to Friday, 10 till 4, and weekends, 9 till 6.
If we look at the moon, right?
You can't. It can't be viewed. There has been a false claim that if you look at the moon and see a lunar wave, that is a manifestation of the thing that's been defined as invisible to see.
Brilliant.
A lunar wave is just gases going in front, in between the camera and the moon.
I'm not interested in explaining bullshittery what it could actually be. I'm just pointing out what it's been claimed within this cult to substantiate. There's evidence, guys. Yeah, the manifestation of the thing we recognise as invisible and non-manifest. But if you look at it in front of the moon, you can see it.
Well, it's the mainly non-manifest thing because you're claiming it in physical reality. You're claiming you have measurements for it, but it's non-manifest. How are you going to measure something that isn't manifest? Because you can measure gases, right? You don't have to see gases to measure them. How do you measure something that is not manifest?
Well, you got to get the toroidal field, and then you get a couple of magnets, and then you start doing this and start doing that. And then, you go to counter space, and then all of these things are observable and measurable. I sniffed him out immediately. His introduction told me he was an etherite.
It's really obvious when it happens, when the bait and switch happens. We ask them about ether, and suddenly they move into what magnetism is. It happens every time.
Yeah. You see, that's the thing about it. You ask them for what to show you ether, and they want to talk about toroidal fields. That's magnetism, not ether. Ether is a belief that lives behind magnetism. Do you know what I mean? That's what it is. It's the power behind the power kind of thing. It's like I don't see the point in having a belief in this thing, but people do.
Well, he said he knew that it existed, and in the physical world, you got to be able to measure it to know that it exists. I was interested to see what he was going to show as a measurement. Wasn't you?
He was going to go to scripture. Sorry, go ahead, Brian.
Okay, Neil, no hassle. No, I was just saying his first proof was, what was it he did with his crops? Electrocuted these crops or used electricity within the crops? Something, or within some plants he was growing. Electric treatment.
He said something that cracked up QE.
Electroculture. Electroculture, that's it. Electroculture, yeah. But I don't see how that proves either.
QE just started laughing at that point, and I haven't heard a word from him since.
I didn't laugh at it. I said it's where somebody asked what's electroculture, and I said that's where you shock plants.
Yeah, that's right. You said that after, but you did laugh at first.
I don't think I was laughing at it. Okay.
I heard a laugh. May not have been from you, but it is laughable.
Why is it laughable? Why is shocking plants laughable?
My OBS has crashed. Might have to round out, lads. With that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering Streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!